Alright everyone, let's take a tour of Duckingham Palace. That's what we've affectionately named their building here. I'll kind of show you how we started and how it's become what it is today. So basically this all started with we went to Menards, which is a big hardware chain, and we bought this Arrow shed. The shed's pretty short. It's like maybe 5 feet tall or something. So I started building this run around it, and then my fiance Emily said that she didn't want to have to bend down to like clean out in here and everything, so I kind of like added on, and you can see over here like I ended up having to add like an extra amount of height to this run. But when we first got the ducks, we had to assemble this thing pretty quickly because they were getting bigger, and they just needed somewhere to go. They couldn't stay in the house anymore. They were just getting too big to stay in the little container we had them in. So we built this thing, and then I'll show you some modifications I did to it. I got the floor kit with it, and the floor kit is really great. It's nice and sturdy. It's got plenty of size in here. Actually, this is big enough for the 4 ducks probably to just live in, even if you didn't have the run. But of course, a run makes happy ducks. I put this padding on here. It's just the typical like padding you'd put on like a pipe or something. So it's pretty sharp otherwise, and after a few cut heads we decided to put this on here. The doors do slide shut, but probably not anymore because of all the stuff that's accumulated at the bottom. When I was at Menards, I actually got 2 of these windows as well. I just came out here, made some marks, and cut the holes for the windows out, and then just put these windows in. On the other side, I put some wood around them to back them. That way they're held tight, and these screws here just go directly into that wood. I leave these open all the time. It's got a screen in here, but I also have this 1/4-inch hardware cloth. So these do shut, but we don't do that right now. That way the ducks get plenty of ventilation, of course, because of their moisture. We've got their feed over there. Need to mix up some more crumbles here, but that's their crumbles and cracked corn. And in here, if I can get this open, this is where we have all their oyster shell, which they haven't really been eating a whole lot of. And they just kind of make little nests over there or on top of that hay bale and whatever. Now the problem with this shed is in the wintertime, of course, this is just a metal shed, or in the summertime, I mean, this is a metal shed. It accumulates heat, and it got really hot in there. So luckily I had a portable air conditioner, like the roll-around type with like 12,000 BTUs, and I actually put it out the window on the side to the right there, and you know, the ducks had air conditioning. So I set it at like 80 degrees, and it just kind of kept it 80 degrees all day, or 75 or whatever, until we came home and we let them out, and then we'd have to lock them back in. So for probably a month there, they didn't have this run, and they just had to live in there with the air conditioning. The run though, I'll kind of show you how this was built. If I had to do this over again, I would not have done the thing where I just added an extra 2 feet to it, but I had already bought all these poles and sawed them off. So I would have just continued up with this. Also, these just sit on the ground. They're not actually in the ground really, maybe by like 6 inches. So this is not like a really permanent structure. But yeah, I just kind of made this out of these cedar poles, and then just put the 2x4s around it. You can see stuff's just kind of toe-nailed together. My brother helped me design these rafters out, and so yeah, we put all the rafters on here, properly spaced and all that. And up here you can see it is actually shingled. So that up there, bought the shingle, bought all this drip edge and everything. It's pretty official, and it actually works really well. That's some of the wood backing that I put on there, on the window. I just went in, and for this window I just went in and you know, planed some boards down until I got them just the right thickness, and then shoved them in there, and that's all it really took. The ducks love the run. It actually does a pretty good job of staying dry. The dirt in there is actually pretty dry. You'd think there'd be duck poop all over the place, but there's really not. They do most of that inside their pond. So I'll kind of show you how this works here. I also have a bunch of chicken wire basically just everywhere. There's like I think there's like 3,000 nails, or not nails, staples that I used to put this thing together. So all the chicken wire and all that. I got 4-foot chicken wire lengths, so that helped out too. Basically, I mean, this thing is fortified. In addition to the chicken wire on the outside, underneath the ground, there's an apron of chicken wire coming out, probably 2 feet. Actually, maybe 3 feet, since that's the height of some of the wire. And that's basically so if an animal goes and starts digging, they'll hit that chicken wire, get really discouraged. It's stapled to the frame, and it's buried maybe 6 inches under. So we got a door here that I made, just a cedar door. And actually, if I had to do this again, I'd probably make it a little bit more stout because it does kind of like flex like this. And as a result, when you latch this, you actually have to turn this. That way it holds this a little bit closer in, otherwise something could get their hands like in here and maybe get in, I don't know. As for a latch system, we went with just these carabiners. I would highly recommend this sort of latch system. So again, you just put it on like that, and the carabiners go on. Now, the other thing to consider is the carabiners are twisting, the locking carabiners. So we just do this every time we put this on here. Again, that helps it stay a little bit more shut. And now nothing's going to be actually like getting through here. I don't think the raccoons know how to use the the carabiners. So yeah, we've got 2 of those, one on top, one on bottom. And we go here, undo this. All right, we'll step inside. I have these mats down here that I did a little video on. They're just restaurant mats. I would recommend you get these. They keep the ground nice and clean. There's some drainage rock underneath of here, probably 6 inches or so of it. And that way all the water, whenever they get out of this pool or kick water out of it, whatever, it all drains through. The ducks seem to like the rubber too, so we got a little thing there for their oyster shell. Again, they like to dig little holes under it. The ground though is pretty solid. We brought in like a lot of fill. I got a couple tons of it at least, I think. But yeah, I brought in some fill and I just filled this out. That way the water does not accumulate in here. It used to form little like pools, and that was way more muddy and everything, but not anymore. This is their swimming pool. As you can see, I just kind of built a 1, 2, 3 level step system that just hangs right over the edge, and this ramp goes up to it. That attaches it there. That thing there and this side here, that's because the ducks were kind of stupid and they were trying to jump right off the top of it before, and I was worried they'd like break their legs or something. So I put those blockers on there. Yeah, this thing, I'll fill it up to where it's just above the 2nd level here, so it'll be pretty full. And the ducks love it. They can use the steps perfectly. They don't need a ramp at all, and ramp would take up more space. So they can still swim over here and get to the other side, or they can just swim around here where they normally do. Kind of show you here. This is where the bog filter comes back in. Whenever I take out the bog filter, I will probably just have the filter that I have there actually just coming directly into here. Probably back over here though, so that way it keeps spinning this water around. Yeah, the filter goes in here, aerates the water nicely. You can see back here the ducks have dug their little holes trying to find some grubs or whatever. I'm sure they've accomplished that a couple times. Metal lath around here, basically anything. There's also this 1/4-inch hardware cloth all around the perimeter of their pond, and that's because they love their pond so much they actually sleep in it. And we didn't want anything like raccoons being able to like reach through the chicken wire and grab them. And I've heard that they can like eat them through the chicken wire. So put the 1/4-inch stuff on there, and that way nothing can get through. I haven't been so worried about it because since this is in our backyard, you can see like the fence here. We've got dogs, And I think that the dogs being out here so much really helps keep the predators away. I have not seen anything, no signs of any dicking, nothing like that. I mean, knock on wood, but haven't seen anything. So the ducks do sleep around the edge here sometimes, but I just haven't put any 1/4-inch harbor cloth up. Hopefully it just won't be an issue. I have this giant bug zapper. I would really recommend you get one of these for your ducks. This thing is called the Diplomat, which is a sweet name, and it's really powerful, and it just like obliterates the bugs. You can see how many this thing has caught here. I mean, no bug stands a chance. And in the summertime when I have this thing going, they all just drop down there, and the ducks are kind of like nocturnal now, and they'll just stay up eating bugs all night. And so I only have to feed them 1 cup of food a day instead of 2. By cup I mean a pint. So I only got to feed them 1 pint instead of 2 pints. I would really recommend you add that. It just hangs from one of the rafters here. This is my jank sort of electrical setup. So I got 1 plug, and the plug powers, you know, this guy here when it's on, and then it also powers the UV light on the pump or on the filter over there, and it powers the pump down in here. I've got another cord dangling here, and that's from a heater that I just installed. You can't see it down there now, but you can watch the other video about the heater. It plugs into the drain hole down there. 1500 watts. It should keep this thing nice and de-iced for them. This is the old pipe that used to go into the bog filter there, but it's just hanging up now because it was siphoning water out. And then I've got like the webcam up here for the live feed of Duckingham Palace. So that's basically how this whole thing works. This thing here, the electrical is actually just a big long, like, it's rated for landscaping, but it's just a big long extension cord that goes into the house. I would have rather had this hooked up via its own dedicated electrical, but just haven't gotten around to it, and this works just fine. I'm probably going to upgrade that plug though to where it has a better circuit on it, so that way any sort of malfunctions, especially now that I have the heater in there, that way nothing happens to the ducks. I put these hops plants out here. This one kind of got eaten up by some caterpillars. This one did a little bit better. So I got these hops plants, and they just kind of go to the top here, and that was my plan for keeping some shade in here for the ducks. Overall, I mean, they seem to love it. They got plenty of space in here, and they just love their pond. So this pond doesn't take up that much room, and it works really well, so I would recommend you getting one if you're looking for a good thing to use. If you would attach this pond to that filter that I do a review on, it's just perfect. You'll probably be like $300 in at that point, and your ducks will be super happy. It won't take up a lot of space, and your water will be really clear all the time. Hardly anything you ever have to do to maintain it. I mean, overall, it's just great. I've got the backwash for the filter just going straight into the garden over there, so you could always do that if you wanted. You know, you can do anything with it, but I wouldn't recommend doing the bog filter. I made a video about why not to do that. So I wouldn't have that, but you can get one of these tanks and one of these filters, and you can have ducks in an urban setting, and nobody should have a problem with it. It doesn't smell bad or anything, and they love it. So.